Welcome back to the Healing Us Podcast. We're joined today by CEO Daniel Regan and Matt Strout. And he's going to talk to us today about his personal journey and how that led to him founding and creating Evo Health and Performance in Freehold, New Jersey. Thank you so much for joining us today, Matt.
Thank you very much for having me, guys. Appreciate it.
Awesome.
So, we've been friends going on probably about 10 years now.
Yeah.
God, all my friends, we're all getting old.
Right? Got houses, kids, right?
You were at like one of the earlier points in my recovery we met, and we had a mutual friend that he was just like, hey, you want to try boxing one day? And like, I got this friend that has this boxing gym, we'll go there and do this. And I met you and we just hit it off. I was training with you for about 2 years about that.
Very consistent.
Got in the best shape of my life, I gotta say. 100%. I need to get back there so bad. We just hit it off from there. But you always inspired me with the passion that you had for health and wellness, and just really taking the time to learn the individual. Like, it wasn't just about the structure, but you're a people person, and like you find the heart in everybody, and you really do connect that mind, body, and spirit for people with your model. And I've seen you take people under your wings. I remember there was some kids there that were struggling with different life issues, and you kind of just took them under your wing, and they just completely blossomed with you, and actually ended up like as instructors, some of them. And you're a community person at heart, you're a people person at heart, and you've always inspired me. So I want you to come here and tell the world who you are and what you're all about. So why don't you give everybody a background of your story and the trials and tribulations that you've gone through, and how you got here.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much. And I really appreciate our relationship as well. I've always been inspired by individuals and their stories. I've always liked to dig deep and understand why people are the way that they are, or why they do the things that they do, and then kind of understand, where are you currently, and where do you want to be, and how could I help? How could I help serve you to get there quicker? And expedite that in any way, and I've done that through taking my own life adversities, like you said, which we'll get into, but like really taking some hard times in my life that brought me into a really, really dark place. And, I was blessed with having a really great support group with my mom, my dad, my sister, starting at the home life. And, I have a very big family, and everybody's very close. I come from that, a lot of love and support. And I think there's a lot of people out there that don't have that. So I've always felt like I wanted to create a place where people could have that, and they could come to a place and know that you're going to have that, them open arms and welcoming of people to come in, and like, no matter where you are, it's okay, right? Because like, as long as you understand you are where you are, but you also are real with yourself and understanding that this is where you want to be, and you take time to write it down and connect your mind with your hand to paper, I think is very important to like really put it out there and like figure out like where is it that you truly do want to go, and then we could get there. It's about implementing a plan to get there, right? So a little bit about me is, again, I come from a great family, a lot of love, a lot of support along the way. I was overweight as a kid, very typical, right? Like a lot of us are, but my mom and dad were always about moving, right? Like we're always doing different things, playing different sports. And my dad actually was in the Air Force, and when he got out, he got into competitive bodybuilding. So he was bodybuilding in San Antonio, Texas, until he came back home over here, and he actually opened up a gym in Howell, and right around Howell, New Jersey, around here. And that's where him and my mom met way back in the day. But that was always part of his life.
Right.
And which then trickled in once they built a family. Growing up, my dad always worked out. Mm-hmm. So there came a time where I was uncomfortable. I was overweight. I was very insecure. Mm-hmm. And my dad was like, come downstairs with me. I always put it off. Nah, I don't want to do that. I don't want to. And then finally, you get that belly full where you're just like, I need a change, right? And that's where usually most people need to go, is like, they're fed up. They're really tired. They're really sick of where they are, and they need to make a change in their life. Luckily for me, it happened at like 12 years old.
It's also amazing that you were around parents that were healthy, because I think that is really important for kids to see, like, that kind of role model.
100%. I take a lot of pride in that now too, having my own children. I have 2 babies who I love, and I think it's important. You know, we talk about that all the time, the example that you are setting. You know, you don't realize how impactful that is. So I started working out, and it just basically snowballed from there. Like, I was playing different sports, basketball, baseball, football, but fitness was just like something that always just stuck. Like, I always just loved working out. I loved like that like gritty like push of like telling myself I'm gonna do this, and then like finishing it, like no matter how hard it was, like finding a way to get it done, you know? So I was going through my life, and when I was in high school, there was a program released in a vocational school that was you would go half your day at high school and half your day there to become a certified trainer.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and like my mom found it, and then she brought it home to me, and I'm like, this is so like right up my alley. Like, this is exactly what I want. So my senior year, I did that, where I took my regular classes at Jackson Memorial High School. Then I got bused to Toms River North, and we would go in, and half my time there was in a classroom, the other half was in a gym.
That's amazing.
So I got to learn the whole educational side of the human and the way that it moves and the way that it operates. But then when you got to go out and feel it, you know, like, so it wasn't just about sitting. It was about feeling and doing. Yeah, it was really great. Did a great job. Senior year, graduated from there. And so at that time in my life, I just started going to OCC, so I started some college courses. And I wasn't like, hey, this is exactly what I wanted to do, was to go to college. But I was going. I knew it was going to be beneficial to me. Like, there wasn't bad that would come from it. But I also really wanted to get a job in the fitness industry because I loved it. And I was able to get an opportunity to get a job at Central State Fitness and Wellness Center, which is a beautiful place. Very high-end facility, very high-end coaches that they had there from different degrees and certifications. And I was certified, but it wasn't anything super fancy, but it was a certification, right? I went in, I did really well in my interview, I spoke well. He gave me like a 30-day trial, my boss. And he's like, go work the floor, go talk to people, and let's see how you do. So I ran with that. I started talking to everybody. I was helping people. Like, I was just connecting with people. And I got hired. So I got that job. I was blessed to have a really successful coach at that place in all the different clubs. And I used to follow him around like a little dog and just watch him, ask him questions, like just constantly learning.
Soaking it up.
Now, at the same time, I met someone who started teaching me how to coach boxing and Muay Thai kickboxing, which is what we got into years later. I fell in love with it. Right, I loved it. Like, I loved like the whole aspect of just how micro detailed it was, from millimeters to milliseconds. Right, like it's that type of game, and I was learning it. I was learning how to box. I was learning how to coach boxing, and then something crazy happened to me. I was 18, and this took place over about a 6-day period. But ultimately, I lost my vision. So I started, my equilibrium started shifting. I was getting really off. It first started the first couple days when I was working out. So when my heart rate was elevated, my blood pressure was up, and it was just really weird. Like, I was dry heaving, I was getting sick. Like, it was just really off. But then it would like settle. And then by like day like 3, 4, 5, like it was just like staying. And I'm like, this isn't right? So now here I am, I'm 18, I'm in shape. You know, I know everything. Like, we're in those mindsets. Like, I don't need help. I don't got to tell anybody. I'm like, this is fine. I'll figure it out. So I'm still driving. I shouldn't have been doing this. Like, I'm like, I don't want to tell my parents. I didn't want to, like, something was wrong, but like, it got to the point where I had to tell them something was really wrong. And I did. From there, I went to doctors, starting with the eye doctor, to retina specialist, optic nerve specialist, neurologist. I've gotten spinal taps, MRIs, blood work, like everything you could imagine. This process took place for over a year. And during that year, it was very hard. It was a very mentally and emotionally challenging time in my life. I finally ended up at the University of Pennsylvania. Well, they determined what was wrong, which is a genetic disease. It's called Leber's disease. So it's basically like optic neuropathy. So it's not necessarily like the signal. It's not retinal, like magnification helps me. It's the actual optic nerve. So like the signal is not getting pulled to the brain. So I remember sitting there and being like, okay, so like, I basically left that day with 2 choices. I had to get another spinal tap and this genetic blood test. If it was the Lyme's disease, that's what they thought it was going to be, it was curable. Cool. I said, well, what if it's this other thing? And he's like, well, unfortunately, there's no cure for that. He's like, you just have to live the most healthy, positive life that you can. And I was like, okay. And he's like, all right, it was nice to meet you. I'll see you later. And I was like, all right. And like, I remember that drive home. Like, I remember the drive home, like, still in my mind of just like, you know, my parents still trying to keep the energy positive and like being there, but it was just like quiet. And it was just like, wow, you know, like the brains, just going.
Well, it's like a complete bomb drop on everything.
Right?
Especially...
To know that that's where it could be forever.
What does this mean?
And you can't today, years later, your vision, what is that like for you?
It's like super blurred. So like I can't drive, can't really read. I've learned how to adapt to it. So like if I've known Danny for over 10 years, we said that, right? Like if I seen him on the street, I'd walk right past him. So like if I knew I was going to see him, I would be more aware of it. Like I watch how people walk. So like I'll understand like the way that he moves. I'm very voice recognition. So like I respond very quickly to voice, smells actually, which is kind of funny, but like, you know, your other senses really pick up. And, but yeah, I mean, I can't see, like my vision was 20 by 1440 was the last time I got it checked. Excuse me. So like basically something 20 feet away looks like it's 1,440 feet away. Wow. So it's like super, super blind.
Wow.
Yeah, you know, like
it's like a mile, isn't it?
It's far. Yeah, it's real far.
That's
so like
wild.
I could see clear, like if something, but again, like if I wanted to read, like I still couldn't even read this. It would have to be so big and right in front of my face.
So after that diagnosis, how did you continue your fitness journey?
Well, first I went into a very dark, deep state. I was depressed. I stayed in my bed. I remember laying there and just feeling very, very like dark. Like, you know, it was because that was my dream, right? And actually, so right before that, I started doing really well at work. I got the truck I always wanted. I got a Trailblazer SS, all black. Like it was like the truck I worked hard. I drove it for 2 weeks. And half of one of those weeks was when I was losing my vision. Like I shouldn't have been driving it. So like, it was like a lot of your ego, right? And it was deep. Like I had and I remember my mom coming in every day and being super positive. And, you know, my mom lost her father when she was young to pancreatic cancer. And like, I knew that, but like, I didn't really know how impactful it was. Right. And then like when our back was against the wall and like things got really hard, she was so strong. And like, I look back now and I'm so grateful for that. Like, and my dad and my sister and everybody, but it hits everybody differently. Yeah. It's a hard thing to have to deal with. And one of my best friends at the time, who is now currently my wife, you know, she was a part of that journey too.
It's beautiful.
And yeah, and like she, you know, we were really good friends and she watched this whole thing go on and she still loved me and we still have built a beautiful family. You know, we got married, we got a house, we have 2 beautiful children and like, we just were a great team now, right? But at the time, it was dark, it was deep, it was a lot of deep searching inside of myself because I felt very much so less than myself. I felt like I didn't have my confidence. I mean, I was dark. Like I felt basically almost like suicidal in a sense of like wanting to like not go on, you know? And because I believe of the love that I had, there was like this deep peace inside of me that I would never have taken my own life because I didn't want to do that. But I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I just knew that it like didn't seem like I should go on, you know? Like I didn't know, you know? I was a young man trying to figure things out. But at the time, I was learning how to coach boxing, kickboxing. My roots were weight training. And I remember I started listening to some different things, right? And one of the things I started listening to at the time was Tony Robbins, who's the GOAT, right? He's been around forever. And I remember him saying a couple key things that have always stuck with me, but life happens for you, not to you, right? Like you need to change that victim mentality, which we can all find ourselves falling into, and that's okay. It's okay to be there. But I think it's important what you do on outside of there, right? Like they always say like the hero and the villain could have that same story, but it's what they choose to do with their hurt that to help others, right? Like the villain is like, I was hurt and now I want the rest of the world to be hurt and to feel this pain. And the hero is like, I was hurt, but I want no one to have to feel this pain and I want to help save them and help bring out the best in them, right? So it started honestly with me. And again, Tony says this as well, but like one of the fastest way to make a mental and emotional shift inside of yourself is to physically move your body, allow your hormones, your endorphins, your blood to flow and let the body do what it does, right? So I remember I just started getting up and walking, moving simple, and then going down and starting to work out. And then I had a workout spot outside of my house that I built. We called it Pain of the Pines, but I lived in the Pinelands, but it was a huge place we cleared out, cut trees down. I had tires, sledgehammers, pull-up bars.
Awesome.
So I used to go out there, bandana up, and just work in the dirt, just
kind of a beautiful way to take your anger out at the time
exactly
too, right?
Right. I call it. So the negative energy, I learned how to use and harness it for positive, productive action. One of the first books I read at that time too was called Relentless, who was written by Tim Grover, who was Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, Dwayne Wade's. He worked with their mindset, and he said, with a lot of the champions of all different calibers that he worked with, these guys had something different, and it was their ability to harness the dark side. Because the reality is if we all just went off of all the positive, good energy that we had in our day, we wouldn't get very far, right? We're blessed because we do have a lot of positiveness in our lives because we've seeked it, but there's a lot of times, which we know, there's a lot of darkness too, right? So you need to learn. Energy is all around us. So how can you learn how to use it to benefit you in your favor and to convert it? Exactly right. So I use the word compartmentalizing, right? But I would take all that fear, anger, hate, all of the bad that I was feeling, and I would put it somewhere special, and I would go out and I would work out, and while I was working out, I would think about it, and I would think about you can't do this. Now you're basically technically disabled and handicapped, which is fine. I'm that's okay, right? If you are, but you can't do what you wanted to do because of it. Right. And then I'm no, I can. Right. I'm gonna figure this out, right? So then I just started carrying this little chip on my shoulder, there's somebody out there, right? Which is not real, right? It was my own self saying you can't do this because. Right. And then I'm no, I'm going to do this. Now I'm going to do this even more. Right. So I remember getting myself up, starting to work out, starting to move. I started to develop my own personal routines that would allow me to be in the proper mindset to go through my day, which has evolved drastically to where I am today currently. And then I went back to my boy. My boy was I can't teach you how to box. And I'm no, you're going to teach me. And he's okay. So we started going. And we'll figure this out. And it's about feeling. It's about paying attention to the details. It's about all the little things, and I just showed up every day. And it kind of helped me though, because I lost so much of just the everyday vision and awareness. It forced me to really pay attention to detail, right? And to understand not just people, but how they move, how they think, the way that they carry themselves, the way that they speak. And to pay attention to those little things, but then over time helped me in multiple other ways, how to connect with people, how to communicate with people, how to really get in there, like you said, not just the surface, but what's deeper.
It's amazing when you learn how to unlock that mindset that you're talking about, because in my recovery, from my personal experience, it's not that negativity really goes away in your head. No. Right? I wake up some days, I don't feel good. Something happens, something doesn't go my way or as planned, right? And that negative talk starts again. See, told you couldn't do it, right? No, you're not worth it, right? Those kind of things. And what I've learned, and the biggest piece of my recovery, when I was in active addiction, I didn't think anything of myself. I was the worst piece of garbage on the face of this planet. And there was no fixing me. I am a broken case, right? But I learned how to take that negative connotation and just twist the perspective around a little bit. Instead of going, I'm just going to ignore that. No, I said that exists. It's a real piece of me that thinks that. But let me prove it right. Let me do everything possible for myself. And if it fails, absolutely. That negative voice is absolutely 100% correct. I went into this way of just disputing rationally and rational beliefs with just all right, well, let me do everything this way. And if it turns out that way, I guess the negative is right.
Right.
But every time I do that in life, I prove it wrong every single time. And then you have this all of a sudden that hindsight is 20/20, right? Where you go, oh my God, I had to go through that in order to do this thing that, why did I do that? But I did it. And now, because I did that, now I can understand why it all happened, right? And it's a beautiful thing when you get that. And when you feel it the first time, it's an addiction of itself. You're like, okay, when's the next challenge?
100%. Well, and that's what you've done so beautifully. If you've shifted who you were to who you are, and you use those things in a positive manner to build something beautiful, and now you're helping. I don't even know now how many people you've helped, right? In your day, it's endless. But like, you had to go through that stuff in order to get there. I remember having a conversation with myself, and I was in that moment of like, where I was really questioning, like, do I deserve to go on, like, or not, right? And I remember I didn't want to take my own life. I didn't want to do that to my parents, my family, the people that I love. But I was like, how about I go out and create something that just impacts the world so big and can help so many people change their lives through fitness and wellness and taking care of yourself. But let's make the line so big, right? So like, I'm either going to change the whole game and change the way that it's delivered and change people's lives, or I'm going to literally die trying. And I'm okay with that. Because if I go out that way, then it is what it is. Right. I'm going to go all out, and if it takes me out because if I have a heart attack, right? The life we live, like, sometimes you're just like, oh my God. But if it happens, I'm okay with it. But what that did is it pushed me, and it made me to start doing things that I probably wouldn't have done, because I basically was fearless. I was like, I don't care anymore.
You see that sole purpose.
Yeah. So then, then what happened exactly is what you just said. So now you're questioning it, but then you're just like, I'm just gonna do it anyway. I don't care. Like, let's go. And then you do it, and you accomplish something, and you're like, okay. And then and then you just start building some momentum, and then you truly like believe in yourself. Now, am I constantly faced with adversity and overcoming obstacles and hard decisions and conversations? Yeah, of course. But like, you can't ever forget the things that you've done, and you have to remember those things, because they truly empower you as you keep going on. And we were talking the other day on the call, right, of like, sometimes you step back and like the moves you're making now are big, and you're just like this is great, like this is crazy, right? Like, at one point you probably never even thought this is possible. No.
So talk us through the decision to partner with TJ, right?
Yes, TJ Martino, yep, Dr. TJ.
Dr. TJ, and Open Evo. What does it mean? You corrected me before. I said health and wellness, and you said it's health and performance.
Yes.
What is your philosophy, and what is your goal to transform fitness through your vision?
Well, so I think it's the overall vision is wellness and lifestyle. We call it Evo, which is like evolve, to help people evolve, right? So Evo, health and performance. So our facility has physical therapy, it has fitness, and we have recovery as well. So the goal was that we both have been in the industry for a very long time. He started as a fitness coach. He then transitioned to wanting to learn more and go deeper inside of the human, and went to school for physical therapy. After physical therapy, he's done a lot of self-educating, which he's still doing. He's one of the smartest, most open-minded, but also like not afraid to dig deep and figure things out type of guy, right? Like, he's the type of guy you want on your side when you're trying to get something done. And he wanted to change the way that physical therapy and recovery was being delivered. You know, we see in our industry, from fitness side to physical therapy side, you see a lot of like revolving things, right? Like a lot of this. And we're like, we don't want this. Like, we want people to do this, right? So what is being done, and what do we think needs to be done differently? And what that started with was like the ability to really understand people first, understand what makes people tick, understand where they have been, understand where they are, understand where they want to go. And now, how can we compile all that information and then come up with something very specific and individualized to them as a person? And what we did was, we both have done group fitness, we've done custom programming, we've done personal training, we've done all these different things, and we're like, all right, let's figure out who we are and who we are not. We are not group fitness. Why? Because am I good at delivering group fitness? I am, but the reality is, no matter how good you are, if you have 30, 40, 50 people in the room, you can't make those adjustments necessary for each individual person. And then what happens is, people that are in the moment, they're either trying to do things that they shouldn't, or they're not pushing themselves hard enough, or they get overwhelmed. They get attached to the certain people. So then if those people don't come, then they don't come, right? So it's like you get people wrapped up in the things that you don't want. So we're like, all right, we need to create something much more specific. So we do custom programming for people and personal training. Now you can come in throughout our days. We call it semi-private training. So you could come in on the hour and there's a coach on the floor to help you perform your own individual program. So you still have the energy in the room of other people working out, but you're doing your own custom program that was designed for you by one of our coaches after they put you through a very in-depth assessment process. During that evaluation, we were checking everything that you could imagine, from blood pressure to body fat to grip strength to how you move, from mobility to flexibility to how you functionally move through different exercises, to different tests and measurables.
I just got this done last week, so he put me through the gamut. I'm squeezing things, it's squeezing me, I'm weighing myself, I'm getting all this stuff. So I know like every metric of my body right now. And then we went through like a mobility test, which is really important because I feel like in the fitness industry, a lot of people don't look at mobility. They tell you to stretch and warm up, but that's pretty much as far as it goes. But there's so much more to that. And as you know, my backstory, I have personal injuries, so it limits me, and I usually end up hurting myself weightlifting. So they did a mobility test, and we did a physical test. So they, how many step up, right? How many step ups can you do in a minute? Like I was dead at the end of it.
Yeah, but it's a really good test of your strength when you're like, because I'm guilty of it, as most people are. You go to the gym, but you do, your 30 minutes cardio, a little weights, you call it a day. It's, you get stuck in that habit. You think you're working out, but you don't necessarily know what your body needs and what it's capable of.
And it's great to celebrate these little victories, and that's what we do in our programming too, right? Like, there's so many more metrics in the scale. And people get hung up on the scale because that's what everybody talks about. They think weight equates to how you look, and it doesn't. I know for me, like it fluctuates. Like right now, I lost a bunch of weight, but I'm gaining weight right now. But I know it's not fat. It has nothing to do. It's muscle, right? And I'm happy about that. But I know that there's more metrics to be measured, right? So like getting that body fat percentage and really being able to see how that changes, that you're actually gaining muscle, and that's why the scale isn't moving. But like also to see like, hey, I could do 50 sit-ups right now, and then 2 months from now, all of a sudden I could do 100. Like that's a huge victory. Regardless of how I look, I'm more functional as a human being, right?
Having those measurables, I think, is important. People need that. And in the beginning, we start very simple. It could just be certain movements, or it could be something more intense, like you did with the push-up test or the step test, or the single leg sit-to-stand test, right? Like we gave you the deeper stuff. I'm going to challenge you, right? But you're capable of that. And we have levels from beginner to that, right? But it's important to understand, like, hey, I'm putting in all this work. So I'm investing time, energy, effort, finance. Like, we want to help hold ourselves accountable, too, to say, hey, this is worth your investment. This is where you were last month. This is where you are now. So when we bring people in, you go through this full assessment. We then design your program. And then every month you get 2 15-minute meetings with your coach to go over your new program. And then at the end of the month to test something. So it allows you to kind of see, hey, is this working or is it not? And then we conversate and say, hey, if it's not working, why? What are the things that need to be done differently? Is it on us? Is it on, like, are things we tap into, like life things, sleep, eating, hydration, like that type of stuff? Or is it the work that we gave you is it not working? So we want to hold ourselves accountable as well. Now, with that said, TJ has helped take myself and the fitness coaches to a whole nother level of how we perceive humans, from the way that they move to the brain, and connecting those two worlds, and to have a progressive, very progressive product that is giving people results, not just today and tomorrow, but months and then years down the road is what we're looking to do, so that you don't just get people that want to hit it when they're hot, but we want them to hit it and then create a lifestyle. And that's why we say performance. Performance can mean competing, right? TJ was the physical therapist for the Red Bulls the professional soccer team. He's like an ACL master.
Oh, awesome.
Of recovery. I mean, he could fix just about anything, but that is one of his specialties. So we work with a lot of different high-level athletes. We work with a lot of elderly people. So, like, performance could mean that. Performance could mean just, like, getting up and down and not being in pain. Performance can mean playing around with the kids. We talked about this, right? Running around and not feeling winded, or that you can't get up and down, or this hurts or that hurts. Like, so performance is such a well-rounded word that we know that we can help connect the dots for every individual, right? And that's what it comes down to, like we said earlier, like learning the story behind people. Like, you know, like what makes you you.
And it's really cool, like when you walk in, I got to see it, well, I went and got my assessment and saw it, and it's very luxurious inside. They did a really great job putting it together, very clean cut, modern look to it, but you got like the physical therapy adjustment beds when you walk in, and then like a whole gym, and there's, you know, people getting stretched professionally, like by someone that's helping them.
Oh, that sounds great.
Which is really important for me because I'm so not flexible that I need someone to help me. And then, you know, then they go get their little sheet with their workout plan. They work out, and then they come back, get readjusted, stretched out, and go back into the recovery room where you have a sauna and a cold plunge.
Correct, right? So in the back with the sauna cold plunge, in the front we also have some soft tissue work as well. So like compression sleeves, low back massaging, heating pads, individual shoulders, knees.
That's amazing.
Excuse me.
You know, and just in an effort to pay attention to time a little bit, Matt, tell us, how can people find you? You know, who do you encourage to come through your doors? Is it people that are injured, or is it anybody that is looking to find a stronger life? And where can they find you?
Cool. So we are located in Freehold, New Jersey, is our facility. But you could find us at Evo Health Performance on Instagram. You also could find myself, Matt Strout, on Instagram. I think when you are ready to make a lifestyle change for long-term sustainable success, right? So when you've tried things and they just haven't worked for whatever reason, like that's where we want to find people. We want to get people that are truly ready to commit, because the product that you're going to get is going to deliver those results to you, but you have to be ready, because like we're gonna put the time in, we're gonna put the effort in, and like it's gonna have to be residual from both sides. So I think we're a place that, like, when you've had other experiences or you've tried something and it hasn't worked, whether it be because you didn't know what to do or you didn't have the proper accountability or support system behind you, we got you. Like, we want you to reach out to us. You could be injured, or you could not be injured. You could also be someone like Dan, who is someone who's attacking life, and one of the less things that he has to worry about is his fitness or his recovery. So like, let us take some of the brain power, right? So we also have some high level people that work with us, and they understand how important fitness and wellness and personal development is in order to grow themselves personally and professionally. And they also respect the time and energy that would have to go into coming up with the right stuff to do.
Yeah.
So you either have to put your head down and learn all about it, or you find someone like us that we kind of just take the wing for him now. So he just has to show up, and he's going to trust in what we've created for him, and he's going to trust in whatever I tell him to do, whether we're boxing or we're stretching or we're going to lift. He's going to trust and believe in that. So it's one less thing off of his mind. It's not like, all right, what did I do yesterday? What am I doing tomorrow? What am I doing? Like, you know, like, we're going to take the reins and take the lead. So I really think it's, to minimize it down, it's like when you're truly ready to commit.
I love that.
Yeah,
That's
like
amazing.
when you're ready to make that long-term sustainable based wellness, like you said earlier, lifestyle change, we got you.
That's awesome. So Evo Health and Performance, Matt, thank you so much for sharing your story and your time today. You're remarkable and inspirational, and I'm so excited to see what you build and how big and transformational it becomes. So thank you so much for joining us.
I'm sorry.
No, that's okay.
Thank you very much. Thank you guys.
Thank you guys for tuning in. Please hit that subscribe and like button, and we'll see you next episode.